All I really need to know, I learned in kindergarten. Have you heard that phrase before? It's actually the title of a best-selling book. Came out back in the mid-1980s. Collection of essays by author Robert Fulghum. And the book title really captures it. All the essays speak to various lessons that people learn throughout their life, only to come to realize, you know what, I actually learned that back in kindergarten. Things like don't hit, share, clean up after yourself, these sorts of things. I get to wondering, what are the lessons that we keep relearning? Different contexts, different scenarios, being with different people bring it out of us in different ways. We find ourselves needing to learn and relearn some of the same lessons, when in fact, we learned them a long time ago. I'm thinking about this especially in light of the new school year. And if you're like me, you are so thankful for students meeting in their classrooms, with their teachers, with their fellow students. And we're prayerful that they will continue to be in the classroom. We're hopeful that they will have wonderful, fruitful academic years ahead. But it's got to start now. I'm wondering about what are the lessons that they are learning now that they will likely need to learn again and again as they get older. For example, do you remember learning in school about the difference between needs and wants? How about the lesson about good, better, and best? Maybe you learned this in English class, or as it's called now, English language arts. Maybe you learned this in spelling, or maybe even in social studies. Good, better, and best. They're words used in order to render a judgment about something or a situation. Words used when wanting to express a superlative. You use these words all the time, right? For example, think about a meal, whether cooked at home, catered, or out at a restaurant. That burger was good. Or, this burger was better than the other place. Or how about, this is the best burger I ever had. Good, better, and best. Of course, we use these words not just to talk about food, but experiences like, hey, that vacation was good. Or, this theme park is better than that theme park. Or, this hotel, the best. Good, better, and best. A simple lesson we learned long ago in school, but I think there's something that has been at work within our culture that has prompted us to be even more critical when rendering judgments about people and situations. And I, for one, believe it's happened even more over the past 20 years, thanks in part to television shows, namely telecontests. I'm not talking about reality TV shows, I'm talking about the television contests like American Idol, or America's Got Talent, or The Masked Singer, or You Think You Can Dance, even Survivor. Television shows where people are pitted in competition against one another. And as the studio audience in the crowd, or even the home audience, the show is set up for you as the viewer to render a judgment. Oh, that was pretty good. You know what? She was better than him. Oh, he's the best. But it's not just good, better, and best. We also are very quick to say, that was horrible. That was worse. You know, the TV show Star Search was on back in the 80s, but it really wasn't the cultural phenomenon that all of these other telecontests have been over the past 20 years. And now, all of us think that we are worthy to be judges, that we have what it takes in order to say what's good or not, or what's better, what's best. I think all of this is so critical because it's not just about American Idol, dear friends, it's about the false idols you and I bow down to every day. In the first lesson, we heard about King Josiah, who is known for many things, including being so young when he became king. I mean, could you imagine an 8-year-old serving as king? Wow. King Josiah, that's a name that you may have heard tossed about here and there, maybe mentioned in Sunday school class sometime long ago. Well, don't feel badly about not knowing too much about him. He's mentioned in the book of Kings and he's mentioned in Chronicles, but he's not mentioned outside of the biblical text. In addition to knowing that he's so young, here's the main thing we know about King Josiah. He was effective in getting rid of all of the idols that had somehow found their way into God's people's lives. Because God's people, they were interacting with other cultures, other lands, other groups of people who had a different way of viewing the world, who even bowed down to their own false gods. There's a key word I want you to know because it's relevant for our life today. Syncretism. Syncretism is when there are many different influences that all just kind of get coalesced into one experience. For example, imagine a child painting with their fingers. And each finger has a different color. There might be green over here, there might be yellow over here, and as they're finger painting all the different colors, what ends up happening? They all get blurred together into one color. Syncretism. It's what happened for God's people long ago. And King Josiah came along and he ruled on behalf of the people and said, hold on a second. We got to get rid of these false idols so that we can worship the one true God. Syncretism happens for us today as well. Because we hear so many different voices and we have so many different messages and indeed different ways of looking at the world. Now, the good news is God's light is shining throughout the world in different ways in different people. And we can learn from others. Thanks be to God. We run the risk, though, of falling prey to false idols along the way. So what are we to do? The invitation for you this morning is, quite frankly, very simple. Identify in your heart and in your mind, what are those false idols? Where am I lured away? It might be discovering what you think is good, better, and best. For example, we have a way of being lured towards things that are shiny. Shiny, shinier, shiniest. Which do you want? Oh, I want the shiniest toy. We like things that are new. New, newer, newest. Which one do you want? Oh, I want the newest one. We like things that are big. We tend to think that bigger is better. Do you want the big one, the bigger, or the biggest? Oh, I want the biggest. We want the shiniest thing. We want the newest thing. We want the biggest thing. Whether we're talking about our home, our automobile, our second home, the vacation, whatever it is, that thing, that experience, we want the shiniest, the newest, the biggest. And along the way, we fall victim to bowing down to false idols, things that take our attention away from God. What might it be for you? Where do you find your energy being drawn away from God towards something else. One of the ways that you can identify, ask yourself this: what's the thing that just seems too shiny, too new, too big, that it's grabbed your attention? It's got a hold of you. It's gripping you. And you feel like nothing can possibly allow it to let go. In your heart of hearts, if you can name it, if you can confess it to God, then you're well on your way to casting that idol aside. And when you do, the advice that we hear from 1 Peter can guide us along the right path. This is guidance from 2,000 years ago that has direct application to our lives today. If we can be here, gathered in worship, humble Christians who recognize that it's too easy to bow down to false idols, but we're trying so hard to cast them aside, what should we do with that newfound energy? Love. Because, as Peter writes, love has a way of covering a multitude of sins. And along the way, you can serve by offering hospitality. Peter says, be hospitable to everybody. And by the way, don't complain. Oh, I gotta fix this, I gotta do this, I gotta get ready for them, oh, I gotta go out of my way to... No, says Peter, don't complain about it. You notice you can't spell the word idol without the word I. So many of the false idols are actually not about the thing itself, but it's about us and what we think we need because we have confused needs and wants. Oh, the lesson we learned long ago, we need to relearn it again. When you can offer hospitality, you are taking the I out of the picture. It's not about you. It's not about what you get. It's not about what you're experiencing. You take yourself out and you empathize on behalf of the other. You wonder how they're experiencing it. You wonder how they are. You're eager for them to be welcomed and to be loved. I want you to hear again these words from Peter. Whosoever serves must do so with the strength that God supplies, so that God may be glorified in all things through Jesus Christ. To him belong the glory and the power forever and ever. Dear friends, the challenge for us this morning is to identify the false idols that seem to have a grip on us. Notice how you are somehow mixed in with your false attempt of life. Cast it aside so that the energy that you have is dedicated to praising God alone. The hymn that we are about to sing is a familiar tune, but new words, a way for us to engage the life of faith in a fresh way. I invite you now to stand as we sing and pray together.